You're listening to The Stephen Tauriello Show, building a platform of liberty for people in search of truth with a dash of hope and a life worth living. The Stephen Tauriello Show. And now, here's Stephen.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. As always, thank you for tuning in. Whoa, got my got my volume up there a little bit too high. So I got the perfect audio clip that I want to go ahead and play for you. It's a little bit long, but I'm going to stop it in between, and we're going to go through each and every one of these. Donald Trump's lawyer, his name is John Lauro, and this guy is smooth. This guy is good. Like, this is the type of attorney you want handling a case like this. And not just any case, but this is the most important constitutional case this country's probably seen in, I don't know, decades. And in fact, I think his lawyer even says that. This case that's happening in Washington, D.C. is, it is the mother of all cases. If this is allowed to go through, our First Amendment would have officially been stripped from the American people if they're allowed to get away with what they're doing to Donald Trump in D.C. And this is why I always say that Donald Trump is irrelevant in all of these indictments. The government is not coming after Donald Trump. They're coming after us. They're coming after our rights. They're coming after our liberties. And they're coming after our freedom. And so this is why I always say that once they're finished with Donald Trump and they get him out of the way, they'll be coming for us. We'll be next. And so the January 6th case is extremely important. And I find it hilarious how Democrats are just wanting to get this done and over with as if it's just an everyday run-of-the-mill trial. This will be the most important trial in our lifetimes. I promise you. So I want to go ahead and get right into this audio. I think this may take the whole show. I don't know. We're going to go ahead and play the audio, and I'll stop it in between and give you some of my opinions when we go ahead and play this. But I think it's extremely important that people hear this audio because it encapsulates the left and the right. So it looks at both arguments. And I'm sorry, folks, but Donald Trump's lawyer just puts Chuck Todd in his place on this video. Absolutely wrecks him because the truth is on his side. When you have, first of all, you know what? Let's just go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get into the audio, and then I'll give you my opinions as we're listening to the audio. So check this out.
Joining me now is one of Donald Trump's attorneys in this specific case, John Lauro. Mr. Lauro, welcome to Meet the Press.
Good morning.
Let me start with this. Is the defense to this indictment he didn't do it, or he was allowed to do what he did?
The defense is quite simple. Donald Trump, President Trump, believed in his heart of hearts that he had won that election. And as any American citizen, he had a right to speak out under the First Amendment. He had a right to petition governments around the country, state governments, based on his grievances that election irregularities had occurred. He had every right to speak about the important issues that were taking place after the election. Certainly, Mr. Pence, his vice president, agreed with him that there were anomalies and discrepancies in the election process. And Mr. Trump had every right to petition government and enforce his First Amendment rights. That's why this indictment is an attack on the First Amendment. The government, the Biden administration, would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump did not believe that he had won the election. They will never be able to do that. And that's why this prosecution is so ill-conceived.
Damn! You mentioned that he had the right to do all these things. Well, he did all of those things. He filed his petitions in court. He got a couple of recounts. All of the, he everything you outlined as saying he had the right to do, he did have the right to do. He executed that strategy. And apparently when he didn't get the result that he liked, then he kept looking for another strategy. At what point does he accept the truth that he didn't win?
When he left the office. I mean, this is truly bizarre that we have this type of argument, this is what they're running this case on. I mean, if you're bringing charges against the former president of the United States, you better have a rock solid case. I'm talking video evidence of a guy shooting somebody in the street. I mean, the threshold for indicting and trying to send a former president to his death better be a lot better than this. And this entire emotional, I want to say it's Russia collusion hoax part 2. It's Russia collusion hoax 2.0. This entire thing has so many people emotionally involved because of their hatred for Donald Trump that they cannot see anything else but trying to get Donald Trump. They don't care. I've been saying this. I know it's got to be annoying you how many times that I say this. This has nothing to do with the law. This has nothing to do with justice. This has everything to do with kneecapping Donald Trump and interfering in an election. Because Democrats, the Biden administration, sucks. Their ideas suck. They cannot argue on their ideas, and that is why they have to argue on emotions. And this is exactly what they do. We are coming up a year and a half into a presidential election, and the Democrats have not come out. The Biden administration has not come out with one idea that they want to implement to make this country better. They're running the freaking campaign on the economy. These people are nuts. They are nuts. They are essentially telling people, do not believe your lying eyes. Like I've been saying, the 2024 election, this is going to be the biggest propaganda campaign we have ever seen in our entire life. The amount of gaslighting that you are going to see in the run-up to the 2024 election is going to be out of this world. Just insane. Donald Trump could have challenged the election as many times as he wanted. They think like because they hate Donald Trump so much, they have to treat him like subhuman. The media has brainwashed these people. They have showered their viewers with hatred so much for so long that these people treat Donald Trump as if he's a piece of garbage, as if he's not an American. And so therefore he doesn't get rights. He should get to challenge the election until we say he's done challenging the election. This man, Donald Trump, could have challenged that damn election all the way up to January 6th. And in fact, he did. And he's absolutely allowed to. And you're going to sit there and tell me, you're going to tell the American people that he wasn't allowed to say that the election was stolen? Get the hell out of here. I can play you 25 minutes of Democrats challenging elections for the last 20 years. These people are sick. There's something wrong with them. And Chuck Todd, this guy, man, he is such a loser. He is the definition of a brainwashed leftist. This guy, I cannot get it. The guy is he is like a male Karen. This guy is so annoying with his stupid little eye rolls, his stupid questions, with the producers talking in his ear, and he absolutely gets wrecked in this interview by Donald Trump's attorney.
Apparently, when he didn't get the result that he liked, then he kept looking for another strategy. At what point does he accept the truth that he didn't win?
Well, he believes he won, and the Biden administration will never be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he didn't. But what he's being indicted for ultimately is following legal advice from an esteemed scholar, John Eastman, that he could petition his own vice president and ask his vice president to pause the voting on January 6th to give the states one last chance to certify or re-audit. That was the ultimate ask that President Trump made in his ellipse speech. That's clearly protected. Let's go back, if we could, and see what was going on January 6th. Both Vice President Pence and President Trump saw that they had 10 million votes more than they had in 2016. No president has ever lost under those circumstances. They also saw that Joe Biden outperformed Hillary Clinton by 15 million votes, even though she was an inspirational candidate and Joe Biden was sitting at home in his basement. They
Yeah.
also saw that President Trump won almost all of the disputed counties. In addition, they had over 1,000 people come forward and under oath say that there were discrepancies in the election. And finally, and most importantly, what President Trump and Vice President Pence saw were that the rules of the game had been changed by local electoral officials contrary to the state legislatures. So he took...
Boom. Did you hear that, lefties? This is what I've been saying from day one. Donald Trump had every right to challenge that election. He had every right to go forward with the legal advice that he was getting from John Eastman to do these constitutional legal strategies. Okay, that's it. And the whole thing about you're trying to sit there and send a former president to his death because he thinks the election was stolen. We all think the damn election was stolen. That was the most shady election we've ever seen in our entire lives, and everybody knows it. Every single person that you ask that has not been consumed by Trump derangement syndrome will tell you that election was shady as hell. I have no idea what it was, but we seen some of the craziest shit we have ever seen in an election in our country's history. We all know the shenanigans that happened in the 2020 election. It was just super shady, man. I don't know what it is, but Trump's attorney nails this. This is exactly why Donald Trump and millions of people think that the election was stolen. The amount of the mathematical anomalies and just the insane coincidences. It's not even, it's unfathomable. You can't even begin to think about what happened. It was so confusing with ballot dumps in the middle of the night. I can't even go over all the irregularities in that election, but they certainly are in this trial. All that stuff is going to be relitigated. So, and not only that, but it's not just Donald Trump. The American people, the millions of Americans that elected Donald Trump as their commander-in-chief demanded that he challenge that election. What are you going to do, indict all of us? He was doing what he was elected to do by the American people. To challenge that election and look and investigate everything. And he could do it for as long as he wanted. He could do it right up until the time he left the White House. So don't sit there. These people are trying to put a time limit. Oh, he should have stopped here. He should have stopped there. No, damn it. The guy had every single right to challenge his election. And so that's exactly what the American people wanted him to do, and that's exactly what he did. And up until this day, the American people still don't know what happened in the 2020 election. Something happened, damn it. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. Whether it's with the machines, whether it's with Republicans being kicked out of the polling stations, and then Democrats are counting votes by themselves. That's illegal. And the most important thing, just like he said at the very end, was the illegal, unconstitutional law changes weeks and months before the election. This, my friends, is exactly what I was talking about from the very beginning. How the hell can these states change their election laws without state legislatures that directly violates their state's constitution? So how the hell does that get remedied? What is the remedy for that? This is the problem. This is why Clarence Thomas wanted to litigate this in 2020, because he knew this was going to happen down the road. Because nobody has gotten answers from what happened in 2020. Something happened, folks. But even if you count out all the fraud, all the irregularities, all of that, you still have states changing their election laws illegally. What the hell is that remedy? So how can you sit here and say that this election was the most secure election in U.S. history when we obviously had corrupt shit happening weeks and months before the election? It's not even a question. States changed their election laws weeks and months before the election illegally against their constitution. You can't have governors and mayors. You can't have governors just sending out edicts that they can change the process of their elections and their state elections. You can't do that. Election laws must be changed by the state legislatures, and they didn't do that. So what is the remedy for that? So these states are just going to break the law and then they get away with it? I don't think so. And then we have to deal with the consequences. And not only that, this is what people question the most. And listen, I don't blame them. How the hell did Joe Biden get more votes than Barack Obama? I don't believe it. I'm sorry, I don't believe it. I think it's bullshit. And what are they going to do? Come indict me now? They going to arrest me? This is the road we're going down if this is allowed to go through. If they succeed on what they're trying to do here, this will destroy our country. It will create massive instability. Massive. All right, let's continue.
What he was entitled to do, which was petition Vice President Pence on January 6th. Once that petition was completed and Vice President Pence rejected his position, it was over and there was a peaceful transition of power.
Look, I got to unpack a couple of those things there because some of it is just sort of political spin and I understand that. But
God, I can't stand that guy, dude. Like, this is how the left talks. This is why I wanted you to listen to this audio clip. This is the exact type of conversations and arguments that Democrats and Republicans are having right now. Not even Democrats, I would say the leftists and Republicans. What Chuck Todd is saying, the talking points that he's saying, in the manner that he's saying it, how he's saying it, is exactly how leftists talk. They're extremely emotional. They have no facts. All they do is just be rude, snobby, like they're smarter than everybody. Chuck Todd is a moron. All right? You hear that, Chuck? You are a moron. You are a stain on this country. And I'm not even going to go into the other words because I won't be able to post this podcast.
Get to this issue of the esteemed legal scholars.
No, it's part of our legal defense.
I understand that. The esteemed legal scholars. Here's what the former Attorney General Bill Barr said about that strategy. I want to get you to react to it.
I don't think this defensive advice of counsel is going to go forward because I think the president would have to get on the stand and subject himself to cross-examination in order to raise that, and he'd also have to waive attorney-client privilege.
Is the former president going to take the stand?
Advice of counsel can be raised without anyone taking the stand. That's just plain wrong. But what we had was a very, very thoughtful memo by John Eastman, who was a professor of law, dean of a law school, head of a constitutional scholarship program, and well understood and well renowned. He had been a Supreme Court clerk and a Fourth Circuit clerk. Even Mike Pence said he was the legal scholar that was developing a lot of these points. People disagree about constitutional principles all the time. Certainly, Mr. Barr may have disagreed with Mr. Eastman. Mm-hmm. That happens every day in our government. It never leads to a criminal charge. But one thing for certain, President Trump acted under the advice of counsel when he petitioned, under the First Amendment, petitioned Mr. Pence.
So let me understand
and that's legally protected speech.
I think it's obvious Bill Barr is this disgruntled employee that wants to kneecap Donald Trump for whatever reason. You know what? I used to actually have a lot of respect for Bill Barr, and I used to have a lot of respect for Mike Pence, and you're getting ready to see why I lost all that respect here in a second. But just because one attorney general says something, it doesn't make it the law of the land. Okay, Bill Barr may be good in some areas of the law, and Donald Trump's lawyer, John Lauro, he's probably good in other areas of the law. But just because Bill Barr says something doesn't make it right. We don't know. I mean, we're in uncharted territories here. And so Donald Trump taking advice from his legal counsel, from an attorney, you're going to try and criminalize that? You're going to try and make that illegal? Good freaking luck. Do you people understand the amount of damage that the Democrats are doing to this country and to the rule of law? Our country will be changed forever if they're allowed to get away with these blasphemies. Bill Barr is a loser. This guy is a loser. His ass should have stayed retired when Donald Trump wanted to bring his ass on board. And personally, I don't even know what the guy did. A lot of conservatives like Buck Sexton and a couple other conservatives and Ben Shapiro, they set the bar really high, no pun intended, on Bill Barr. But honestly, I think the guy, I don't like him. I just don't like him because the guy is a coward. This guy had no problems representing Donald Trump for 4 years in the administration. If you did not like Donald Trump, then why join his administration? And this is the problem I have with a lot of people that stab Donald Trump in the back, like Mike Pence. If you did not like Donald Trump, if you did not want to be part of Donald Trump's administration, then why agree to be part of his administration? All these people do this to further their own careers. Bill Barr has not spent one damn day away from the TV cameras. He's on MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, whoever will take his ass, whoever will take him. This is the problem I have, is you have a lot of these people, they have alternative agendas. Okay, they have hidden agendas, political agendas. They may be donors or they want someone to win. These people are cowards. They are cowards. And the fact that Bill Barr wants to sit there on MSNBC and talk about Donald Trump having to take the stand, dude, sit down and shut up. If you're not going to be a solution, and this is the sad thing, is these people are Republicans, people like Mike Pence and Bill Barr. These are the rhinos. These are the Republicans that people are trying to get out of the party. These are the exact type of people that I say, just get the hell out of the way and let the American people get their country back. If you're not going to sit and fight for this country and give this country back to the people, then get the hell out of the way. If you ask me, I would say Bill Barr is part of the problem and not the solution. He is the Washington establishment. Mike Pence is the DC swamp. These guys are part of the problem. As far as I'm concerned, they can just get the hell out of the way and let the American people get their country back.
So what you're arguing is if the president did violate the law, he did so because he got advice from counsel to violate the law?
No, that's what people misunderstand. In order to have a violation of law, you have to have criminal intent, and in this case, corrupt intent. And what that means is that you have to have some desire to do something unlawful. Mm-hmm. If your attorney is telling you that you have a right to petition Congress, then that completely eliminates any criminal intent. So under those circumstances, you are not violating the law. Your actions require you to state your position, but it's not a violation, so you would be acquitted.
Let me get you to respond.
Regardless of your conduct.
Right, I understand. You keep saying some certain things that Vice President Pence apparently agreed with. Let me play what Vice President Pence says the former president asked him to do. Here's what he said he was asked to do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be clear on this point. It wasn't just that they asked for a pause. The president specifically asked me, and his gaggle of crackpot lawyers asked me to literally reject votes, which would have resulted in the issue being turned over to the House of Representatives, and literally chaos would have ensued.
Mike Pence is a coward. You hear that, Mike? You hear that? Mr. Representative from my home state, Indiana, you, sir, are a coward. Get the hell out of the way and let the American people get their country back. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This guy was the president's right-hand man, the vice president of the United States, and now he comes out and stabs Donald Trump in the back. What the hell is wrong with these people? That is exactly what the people were asking. The people were asking Donald Trump to pause the damn elections until we figured this shit out, because something wasn't right in those elections. And that is exactly what our commander-in-chief did. He wanted a pause. And he asked this coward, Mike Pence, to pause the elections so that we can get verifications in these states. That is it. That is it. This was a legal argument. This was perfectly constitutional. There was nothing wrong with this. And this is exactly what John Eastman was telling Donald Trump he should do. And so therefore, Donald Trump did it. All the things that Donald Trump did, he did on our behalf. Are you going to come arrest all of us? He did exactly what the American people wanted him to do. And that's exactly what a president should do. His American citizens had questions about that election. They did not know what just happened in that 3-week-long election. Obviously, shady stuff happened, and a lot of it. You had lots of investigations out there. You had court cases all over the place. Nobody knew what was happening. They act like Donald Trump lost by like 50 million votes. The guy lost by like 42,000 votes in 3 or 4 different states. The Democrats want to sit there and say that Donald Trump lost by millions of votes. That is not how we do our elections in this country, ladies and gentlemen. We use the Electoral College. The popular vote is not the game we're playing. So Donald Trump lost 42,000 votes in 3 or 4 different swing states. 42,000 votes. That's a small town. The small little town of Martinsville, where I'm from, was all that differed from Donald Trump winning that election and losing that election. So it was perfectly fine. And according to John Eastman and other scholars, there was a lot of people saying this. Ted Cruz, you guys heard his arguments. Sending it back to the states so that they can get recertified, do recounts, and do all of that stuff. That is exactly what the American people wanted. And so that's illegal now? You can't do that? Come on, man. So Mike Pence, you, sir, are a coward, and get the hell out of our way.
So he's just disputing the version of events you're describing.
No, not at all. He's substantiating it. In this respect, there were some preliminary discussions along the lines that Vice President Pence described, but the ultimate ask, which was done at the ellipse, was to pause the voting for a period of time. Now, issues like this get discussed and thrashed about all the time, but the ultimate call made by President Trump was to ask for a pause. If you read Vice President Pence's book, he agrees completely with President Trump that there were these anomalies, discrepancies, even fraud in the election. Vice President Pence wanted those debated in Congress. President Trump asked that they be debated at the state legislature. So you had a disagreement there. But once again, these kinds of constitutional and statutory disagreements don't lead to criminal charges. And one thing that Mr. Pence has never said is that he thought President Trump was acting criminally. Indeed, Vice President Pence is an attorney. If he at any point said or thought that President Trump was acting unlawfully or contrary to criminal law, he would have said that. No one ever suggested that. President Trump was exercising
actually, he
his
has
right.
said that.
And by the way, there's another.
He said the president asked him to violate the Constitution.
No, he's never.
He said the president asked him to violate the Constitution,
No, he never said
which is another way of saying
What?
he asked him to break the law.
He never said. No, that's wrong. God. That's wrong. A technical violation of the Constitution is not a violation of criminal law. That's just plain wrong. And to say that is contrary to decades of legal statutes.
Let's get out of the constitutional.
Let me say one last thing.
This is the problem with people like Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd embodies the leftists. This is exactly how they think. Chuck Todd thinks exactly like a leftist because he is a leftist. These people have no idea what the hell they're talking about. When is the last time you think Chuck Todd read the First Amendment? When? Exactly. Never. This man probably never even set eyeballs on the First Amendment. And he's going to sit there and accuse the former president of the United States and now the current frontrunner of the Republican Party. He's going to accuse him of asking Mike Pence to violate the Constitution, and so therefore that's a crime. These people are nuts. They have no idea what the hell they're talking about. This is their emotions coming out. This is how these people talk. This is exactly how the leftists talk. They speak with raw emotions. They do not have any substance to their objections. Everything that they object is emotions. So you're saying he asked Mike Pence to violate the Constitution and therefore violate the law. This guy has what the hell does that even mean? How do you know that he asked Mike Pence to violate the Constitution? What does that even mean? Violate the Constitution? How? What did he do? These are talking points. These are the things producers they probably pull out or they run it through some artificial intelligence These are the key words that they use. Violate Constitution, violate the law. They say these trigger words because it gets an emotional response from people. But he has really no idea what the hell he's talking about, and Donald Trump's lawyer puts him in his place.
If I could.
Go ahead.
Well, no, because this is a constitutional case. This is going to be the most important civil rights constitutional case in decades. And there's one other issue that's very important. Everything that President Trump did was while he was in office as a president. He is now immune from prosecution for acts that he takes in connection with those policy decisions.
So you're going to try to.
The administration has not addressed that.
An interesting legal place you're going to go that will also create some constitutional questions.
Do you hear what they're trying to do? So essentially this is how these people feel. They think that you can prosecute and imprison former presidents after they get out of office. And so essentially, Donald Trump, signs an executive order that the Democrats don't like. So what, you're going to throw him in prison now? This is the country that Democrats want for you. And this is exactly the type of country that third world dictatorships have. This is exactly the type of countries that totalitarian countries like Venezuela have right now. This is exactly where this is leading. This huge, slippery slope that they are taking this country down, and they don't know when to stop. They don't know when to stop. The damage that they're doing to this country and the amount of destabilizing they're doing to our country, they have no clue. They are completely oblivious of all of this. All they want, the only thing they think about is just get Trump. Whether they got to tear apart the Constitution or not, whether they got to violate people's rights or not, whether it means that the First Amendment needs to be stripped from every American in this country or not, they'll do it. They don't care. They are trying to justify the unjustifiable. So you're going to sit there and tell me that when Joe Biden leaves office, that I can prosecute him for leaving the southern border open and imprison him? This is what they're trying to do. This is so freaking damaging to this country. It's not even funny. It's really not funny. It's so sad that it hurts. It is so stupid to conduct in this self-destruction that the Democrats and the leftists are causing to this country. It is absolutely self-destruct mode that these people are in.
I want to get you to respond, though, to something that seems a bit more straightforward on intent. It's the infamous phone call in Georgia. Let me play an excerpt.
The ballots are corrupt, and you're going to find that they are, which is totally illegal. It's more illegal for you than it is for them, because you know what they did and you're not reporting it. That's a criminal offense. All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
If he had proof he won the state, why did he threaten the Secretary of State with a criminal with a criminal charge?
Oh, come on, man. Again, this embodies the leftist mentality. Does any reasonable, rational people see that as being a threat? Does that sound threatening at all? They did the same thing with Russia collusion. They did the same thing in the Ukraine phone call. They tried to make innocent language into a crime. This is what these people do. There was no threat in that conversation whatsoever. And in fact, that entire conversation, it's not even illegal. What the hell did he say that was illegal? Find me votes? This is the type of shit they're trying to criminalize. And this is why people are so pissed off right now. Because you took the threshold of trying to imprison and send a former president of the United States to his death. You took that threshold way, way down. I mean, if this is the new standard that Democrats are setting for this country, then we're not going to have a country. There is no such thing as a constitutional republic. Our republic is dead. It is dead. And as far as I'm concerned, it's dead right now. All because these people have this, they're sick. These people have they are mentally and psychologically broken. They are sick. This is the type of things that they're trying to criminalize. Find me votes? That's a threat? Threatening? This is so bullshit and everybody sees it.
That wasn't a threat at all. What he was asking for is for Raffensperger to get to the truth. He believed that there were in excess of 10,000 votes that were counted illegally. And what he was asking for is the Secretary of State to act appropriately and find these votes that were counted illegally. That was an hold on one second. That was an aspirational ask. He's entitled to petition even state government, but that doesn't involve an obstruction of federal government. But what the Biden administration has said is somehow President Trump obstructed a federal proceeding. That relates to what was going on in the states, and President Trump had every right to ask the Secretary of State, I believe that this election was conducted improperly. There are deficiencies here. I want to see if there are more than 10,000 votes or whatever the number was that were counted illegally. Once again, that's core political speech.
Bringing up a criminal violation is somehow speech. I mean, it's the way it sounds like somebody saying that's a mighty fine restaurant you have there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
What?
I mean, it's no different than, I mean,
it's
a big threat here to bring up a criminal offense. Have you read the First Amendment? Oh, no, Chuck, have you read the First Amendment?
I'll answer you, John. No, he hasn't.
I mean, political speech is the most protected speech that we have under our Constitution. It's important to go back and read the text of the First Amendment. So you can actually say that a government official is acting criminally. That's protected by the First Amendment. If we lose the First Amendment rights, then heaven forbid we lose the right to freedom of the press. We lose the right for me to appear. We lose the right for you to speak.
You're not allowed to use speech. You're not allowed to use speech, though, in order to get somebody to commit a crime.
Oh, here comes constitutional lawyer Chuck Todd to the rescue. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. Who the hell are you, dude? Sit down and shut the hell up.
And what he was directing Raffensperger to do was to...
You're allowed to advocate.
So you have to... No, you're saying he didn't commit a crime.
You haven't...
No, dude.
You haven't read the cases because, for example, you can encourage someone not to register for selective service. I could see you, Chuck, registering for Vietnam, and I can go up to you and say, Chuck, don't register for that war. It's illegal.
And I violated the law.
Keep walking. Go home. No, that's protected speech. My speech is protected. Right. That's the point.
You coerced me to violate the law.
I can.
That's what he's trying to tell you, doucher. You douche canoe. He can tell you not to sign that paper. That does not make him a criminal. It is free speech.
Ask you, No. And by the way, there's a Supreme Court case. You got to read it. Right on point, Hammerschmidt, and it says that's not illegal. We can have this discussion, but people need to start looking carefully at what our country stands for, what the Constitution stands for. It applies to President Trump just like it applies to everyone else.
And that is what everybody is saying. They are trying to twist and contort the Constitution and our rule of law to try and make Donald Trump guilty of innocent conduct. This is the type of damage that you're doing. If Donald Trump broke the law and it was clear as day, you would not have this problem. You wouldn't. The reason why you have this amount of doubt, the reason why you have the damage that you have and the division is because you're trying to indict him on shit that's just not a crime. That's just not a crime. Is it arguable? Is it a constitutional argument? Yeah. But I don't think trying to imprison a former president and send him to his death is the way to resolve it. But this, like I said, to them, it is worth it. It is. Because anything is worth it. Because the ends justify the means. And if you got to violate Donald Trump's rights to get him and send him off to his death, then that's what they'll do. These people are sick. They are sick.
If we eviscerate our First Amendment rights, we will no longer have a country where people can freely speak their minds.
Have you been able to find any evidence?
And Chuck Todd is perfectly okay with that. He is right now. But if they're allowed to go through with this and our First Amendment is stripped from the American people and is stripped from our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, it's over, folks. Then the American experiment that our founders and our ancestors fought for this country, it's over. All because Chuck Todd is willing to destroy it in the name of getting Donald Trump. Do you see how insane this sounds? This sounds insane. Okay, these people are nuts. And the biggest part to me, the biggest problem I have, is you actually have a president of the United States in the White House right now that has a mountain of evidence that he committed crimes. And we're not going to be talking about that. We're talking about the former president that's running for president, but not the actual president that's sitting in the White House that has dementia. Okay? So this is the type of propaganda. This is exactly what they're trying to do. And you know what? If it was not for this audio being so important for people to hear, so that you can hear the defense of Donald Trump and what people are trying to tell the leftists and the Democrats, essentially warning them. So the American people that see right through the bullshit are trying to warn these people on the other side not to go down this slippery slope. They keep crossing the Rubicons over and over and over again, and they haven't stopped for 8 freaking years, man. All right, we're going to go ahead and finish this up. It's only a few minutes left.
I know the campaign paid for 2 studies that didn't find any evidence that would find enough fraud to overturn the election. Have you found any evidence yet? Because you have said you plan on relitigating the 2020 election, and nobody has found any evidence to back up Donald Trump's claims, and it's been 2.5 years.
We will be litigating the 2020 election.
If they did find evidence, do you think Chuck Todd or CNN or MSNBC would talk about it? Do you think they would show you the evidence? What about the story that just came out on the Gateway Pundit by Jim Hoft 3 or 4 days ago, where they found 10 to 85,000 voter registrations in an abandoned house with all kinds of firearms and burner phones and prepaid Visa cards? 10 to 85,000 partially filled voter registration forms. Have they told you that? Has Chuck Todd came out and said that they found these in Michigan? So this whole notion that there wasn't enough fraud to overturn the election, how do you know, dude? You have so much evidence out there. And here's another thing. These people are so warped, their brains are so mush, that even if there was undeniable evidence that there was enough fraud to alter the outcome of the election, do you think that they would accept it? No. I don't care how much evidence there is. I don't care what it proved. They will never, ever admit that Donald Trump got cheated out of an election and that Joe Biden and the Democrats cheated to get Joe Biden across the finish line. They will never admit this, ever. And I don't know that I stopped trying to convince these people because it's not even worth it. They will never admit to it.
Because much of that has not been litigated. But what we do know, which is not in dispute under any circumstances, is that local state election officials changed the rules in the middle of the game. They sent out absentee ballots.
And all, hang on. I understand. You said this
See how he's trying to interrupt them? Because this, ladies and gentlemen, this part of the defense, this part of the election is the most concerning and has the most merit to it, and it should have been litigated when Clarence Thomas wanted to litigate it back in 2020, was the illegal election law changes in the states without the state legislatures.
You asked me a question, but you're not allowing me to finish.
Mr. Lauro,
no, you're not
all of this was litigated.
You're like the Biden.
No. Don't get politics with me.
You don't understand.
I've allowed you to filibuster a lot.
No. I'm getting legal with you.
All of this, Mr. Lauro, every single. Go ahead. You're trying to make you're trying to create a confrontation for no reason. But go ahead.
No, I don't want to, Chuck. I'm just trying to let you know that the criminal rules are different than what you're talking about. In a criminal case, the government has a burden of proof. We don't have any requirement to prove anything. All we have to do is put the government to its test. And one of the things that will be shown at trial is that there were these institutional anomalies where state election officials unlawfully broke the law, and Mr. Trump was entitled to petition government and assert that he was right. Yeah. That's part of the First Amendment protection. We don't have to prove fraud. People don't understand that. All we have to do is that President Trump was acting with his conviction that this election was conducted improperly.
Right. I just want to let viewers know that everything you've said and all that, He actually went to the courts. All of this was actually deemed legal that was done in the states. All of this was, but look, we're not debating this. I got one last question for you.
False.
I need to get you to react to what your client is saying.
It's not true. It's absolutely not true. Chuck Todd just lied to these people. And this is what these people do every single day to their viewers. This is why I tell leftists and Democrats every chance I can, stop listening to the Pravda media. CNN and MSNBC are lying to you. This is what they're doing. They are lying to you. They are liars. They are spewing propaganda. This situation with the courts illegally changing their election laws prior to the election without state legislatures in violation of their state's constitution was never litigated. So that is not true what Chuck Todd is trying to say. And you can tell when Chuck Todd and these people, when the leftists are getting that their narrative is starting to fall apart, because all they try and do is try and move on to the next thing and interrupt and interrupt and interrupt. That is exactly what Chuck Todd is doing, because Chuck Todd knows the situation with the illegal election law changes in these states is going to be the biggest issue in this entire case.
Question for you.
False.
I need to get you to react to what your client is saying about the prosecutor. Here's what he said last night.
Deranged Jack Smith. He's a deranged human being. You take a look at that face, you say, that guy is a sick man. There's something wrong with him.
Do you believe he's deranged?
Yeah.
President Biden in April of 2022 said he wanted President Trump prosecuted and he wanted him out of the race. He repeated that in November of 2022. As a result, President Biden has put in motion a political prosecution in the middle of an election season. And obviously, everything is open to politics. I'm not involved in politics. I'm just representing a client. I'm ensuring that justice is done in this case. President Trump is entitled to his day in court, and he'll get it.
Right. Do innocent people attack prosecutors?
Yeah. I know. I sure in the hell would. If you're coming after me and I didn't do a damn thing wrong, you don't think I'm going to be pissed? You wouldn't be pissed, Chuck Todd? These people are so freaking just delusional. These people are trying to find every reason they can to make Donald Trump look like a guilty person. Hell yeah, I'd be calling a rogue prosecutor that's indicting me and trying to take away my life when I did nothing wrong. Hell yeah, an innocent person is going to say you're a crazy asshole. Of course they're going to say Jack Smith is delusional. Hell yeah, I would. What are we supposed to do? What is an innocent person supposed to do that's being railroaded by a presidential administration that's weaponizing the Department of Justice against you? What are you going to do? Hell yeah, I'm going to be pissed. Donald Trump has every single right to be pissed. These people have not stopped coming after this guy for 8, 9, I think we're going on 10 freaking years now. They have not stopped. There is no reason why Donald Trump deserves this type of treatment from these people. This is so freaking un-American. That is because these people hate this country. That is one thing that people need to know about the Democrat Party. And like I said, Mark Levin's putting out a book next month, and it is exactly about this. The Democrats hate this country. They hate America. And that is the exact title of his books. Democrats hate America, because they do. This is not how you treat a former president of the United States that gave this country the best years it's seen in decades. This is the type of treatment you would give somebody like Merrick Garland, who completely wipes his ass with the Constitution, abuses his position of power, weaponizes our justice system, and completely destroys the rule of law. This type of treatment they're giving Donald Trump is the type of treatment Merrick Garland deserves. But in all honesty, I don't wish this upon anybody, not even a Democrat. I don't even wish this type of treatment on my worst enemy. This is not justice. This is a weaponized administrative police state. That is what this is. This is the type of shit they did back in the Soviet Union. And I'll tell you what, Stalin certainly would be proud.
It's a political campaign right now This prosecution was instituted by President Biden, and in the middle of that campaign, people are going to speak out. My role is not to address anything about prosecutors, but I will say this. There has been a history in the Justice Department of rogue prosecutions. They went after Arthur Andersen, a major accounting firm, destroyed the company. And the DOJ lost 9-0. They went after the former governor of Virginia in a prosecution, a Republican governor who was convicted unfairly, reversed 9-0. And now the Justice Department, the Biden Justice Department, is going after a former president for acts that he carried out in fulfillment of his oath as president of the United States.
Are you confident that the former president can be trusted with discovery and isn't going to weaponize what he learns about Mark Meadows or others who may be cooperating?
This guy's such a moron.
Well, I'm shocked, and I can find you a lawyer to address this, but I'm shocked that all the news media outlets aren't protesting what the government is trying to do. They're trying to say that we have discovery that's not sensitive, but we don't want the press to hear about it. And Mr. Trump, our team is saying, President Trump is saying, that if there's evidence out there that the government has that's exculpatory or informative, then the press has a right to know. But the Biden administration doesn't want the press to know that. And I'm shocked that there aren't petitions now filed in the district court opposing what the Biden administration is doing.
John Laurel.
Secret courts. That is what they want. What they want is the Department of Justice, Jack Smith, and his 60 prosecutors that he has coming after Donald Trump. They want to be able to leak evidence to the media and then block Donald Trump from saying anything or defending himself. That is what they're trying to do. They want a secret trial away from the American people, away from the public. That is what they want, so that they can do all their corruption and all their dirty work without Donald Trump being able to defend himself. This is the most disgusting behavior I've ever seen out of the Department of Justice. And this Trump lawyer, John Lauro, is exactly right. Who the hell trusts the Department of Justice? This is exactly why I say this election is not Democrats versus Republicans. This is the system. This is the Washington establishment against the people. And this is why Donald Trump's polls are going up. He's getting support from every single corner of this country that knows, that deep down inside knows and has been saying for decades that the Department of Justice is corrupt. These people act like Jack Smith has never targeted a political opponent before. Of course he has. He's done this multiple times before, and every single case gets shut down by the Supreme Court when it's appealed to the Supreme Court. So Chuck Todd is pretending like Jack Smith is on the up and up. The dude got caught twice doing this to 2 other politicians, and it ruined their lives. It ruined their careers. The exact same thing Jack Smith is doing to Donald Trump, he did to this guy McDougal, who was trying to run for president. Jack Smith came after him, just like he coming after Donald Trump, for campaign finance bullshit, and then ruined this guy's life, ruined his campaign, and then it ended up getting appealed to the Supreme Court because he was found convicted in a Democrat jury convicted him, and then it was appealed in the Supreme Court 8-0. 8-0. So this is exactly what they're trying to do. Jack Smith and the Department of Justice knows all these cases are shit. But what they're trying to do is kneecap Donald Trump just long enough to where they can interfere in an election and get Joe Biden across the finish line. The most concerning part for me is I want you to go ahead and stand back and let's pretend for a moment. Let's just gameplay this out. Let's game plan this out. Say Jack Smith gets what he wants. Kneecaps Donald Trump. He ends up getting convicted. Donald Trump ends up losing the presidential race to Joe Biden. Do you think anybody is going to accept that election as a legit election? Do you? How many millions and millions of people are going to deny that federal election, that presidential election? This is how destabilizing this is. You think ahead in the future, which is something that the left can never do. They are incapable of asking themselves the question, and then what? They just act purely on emotion. They destroy, and then when it turns out they were wrong in the end, they just deny it and move on to the next disaster. So why are they doing this? Why are they destabilizing this country like this? It's because their club, their corrupt establishment that they've been in for decades, this corrupt little party, this fourth branch of government that they created for themselves is in danger. And they are willing to burn it all down to prevent the American people from getting their country back. That is exactly what we're watching right here. Because there is no freaking way anybody is going to accept this election. Nobody is going to accept a Joe Biden win. That's what I'm saying. Just think about it for a second. Joe Biden wins, and then the media, oh yeah, Joe Biden wins re-election. Everyone's going to be looking around at each other and be like, what? Like, that was not an election. And then, what? We're just supposed to accept that Joe Biden won that election fair and square and watch our country be turned to ashes in the 4 years where you got this dementia-ridden Joe Biden running our country? And then what? What happens next election? They're going to do it again? To who? Ron DeSantis? What happens when Ron DeSantis runs for president and they do the exact same thing to Ron DeSantis? Just make shit up, prosecute him, persecute him, kneecap him in his election, and then Democrats win again. Do you see what they're trying to do here, folks? This is a clear and obvious weaponization of the justice system to interfere in a federal election. That is exactly what we're watching. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Period, point blank. That is it. That is exactly what they're trying to do. They know that all of these shit cases are going to get turned over on appeal in the Supreme Court. They know that. So why do it now? Why not wait after the election and let the American people decide who they want as their president? You know that thing called democracy? It is not up to Merrick Garland or Jack Smith or Joe Biden who the next president is. It's up to the people. And for being defenders of democracy, you would think these people would understand that. So, well, that was a long audio. But yeah, his attorney, John LaRoe, man, that guy was cool, calm, collective, happy as a clam in there. And then Chuck Todd, you're trying to start a confrontation. The guy wasn't starting a confrontation. This is what these leftists do. And you know what? I wish it was video so you could see Chuck Todd's annoying face with the eye rolls and the interruptions and holding up the hand. Just so freaking typical leftist, man. Such a typical leftist. And you know what? He got steamrolled. Because every single thing that came out of Chuck Todd's mouth was emotions. If that's going to be the Department of Justice's case, this is easy. The threshold for this is just so awful. What they're doing is so awful. The United States of America is turning into a banana republic. So Joe Biden promised us unity and gave us a freaking banana republic. And I promise you, if they are allowed to get away with this and Joe Biden wins the election because of it, I don't even want to begin to talk about what's going to happen. I don't even know what would happen. Honestly, you're talking about extremely, I mean, these people are playing with fire, man. They are antagonizing the American people. They are poking the American people in the chest. The United States government and this Biden administration, who I've already been told are acting like a bunch of tyrants from George Orwell's novel. And they just expect the American people to what? Keep taking it over and over and over again? You're just going to keep cheating in elections? This is what the Democrats are going to do every election because their ideas suck? This is why you do not bring bullshit charges like this in the middle of an election. It is clear and obvious that this is a political persecution against Joe Biden's chief rival. This is the type of shit they do in third world countries, in banana republics. And it's a damn shame that this is the country that Democrats want for you. And so, look, I can tell you right now, if they get away with this and Joe Biden ends up winning the election because of it, this will be the most destructive time that this country has ever seen. And it will all be brought to this country by the Democrat Party, because these people hate this country. They hate the Constitution. They don't know shit. And they continue to push and push and push the button. They push the envelope all the time. This is why progressivism is the most damaging movement that this nation has ever seen. The Democrat Party is the most destructive force that this country has ever seen, ever. And so, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Unfortunately, that took the whole show, but I definitely wanted you to hear that audio. I think it was extremely important for you to hear because it just encapsulates every side of the story. It definitely shows how the left is thinking, and it shows how the right is thinking. And these are the arguments that are happening. But at the very least, none of this should be criminal. And certainly not during a presidential election. I'm sorry. But they have went too far with this one. Way too far. And they're not going to get away with it. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, if you got any questions, I'm going to leave the audio clip in my podcast description. I had a lot of stuff to get to, but that's what we did for today. I wanted you to hear this audio, so I'll try and work on another show right after this and get that out to you tomorrow, too. If you guys got any questions, get a hold of me, StephenTaurielloShow@gmail.com, and Rumble. If you guys could, go ahead and go to my Rumble account, follow me there. I would promote, I post my videos to YouTube, but I don't know how much longer that's going to last because, it's YouTube, man. So it's unfortunate because YouTube has the biggest base and has, the widest reach of listeners, but it just sucks that they're just censor machines, man. They're a bunch of commies over there. So I'm going to continue to post on YouTube. I just don't know if they're censoring me or they shadow banning me. I don't know what they're doing. And honestly, I don't even really promote the show on any of my social media platforms. So I don't even know how big of a reach it's getting. I need to start doing that. I got to find the time to start promoting the show on different social media accounts. And maybe I got to try and bring somebody on board that can help me with all that, because it's a lot of work. You're talking about sending a show to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, TikTok, all the different platforms. I mean, it takes a lot of time doing that. You wouldn't think so, but by the time you make an audio clip or by the time you make a TikTok cut or a TikTok video, or whatever it is, by the time you actually finish posting the video on a social media platform, I mean, you're talking about 15 minutes. And if you got to do that, so you're talking an hour just to post everything on the social media outlets. So I'm trying to figure it out. We'll get it there. Really, the whole show, my promotion relies on you, on whoever's listening. Because I don't pay for promotions. I don't pay any kind of promoting program or none of that stuff that they offer. I'm just not going to do it. I just want to make these shows and just, I'll put them out there for people to listen, but, it is what it is. So really, I rely on the viewers and the listeners to pass the show around. So I would really appreciate if you did share the show and follow me on Rumble or YouTube. And, that really helps out a lot. And I know that you guys my listeners are doing it, because I could see it in my analytics. So that's awesome. I appreciate that. Keep it up. Let's get the word out there. Show everybody this audio. And if you want the audio by itself without my commentary, I'll leave it in my podcast description and you can download it and send it out and share it. But definitely make sure you share, because I think this is the perfect representation of the stupid arguments on the left and the defense, the Donald Trump's defense in the January 6th case. That's an obvious garbage case. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you for tuning in. I want you guys to have a good day. Have a great week. God bless you. God bless America. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.